To me, this was more about the Clippers, but not in the way I think most people are going to expect it to have been. And by the way, it's a great win for them. It's an outstanding win for them. And I know what I'm about to say here is going to be a little counterintuitive, but I think, maybe I'm wrong, I think Broussard might actually end up agreeing with me on it. So last night, if you didn't watch the game, why'd the Clippers win? Well, they won because they shot over 50% from three. Most notably, they had Marcus Morris, Patrick Peterson, and Luke Kennard combined to go 12 of 17 from three. Just couldn't miss. And you might say, oh, okay, that happens.
Yeah.
Here's why last night was instructive to why I'm concerned about the Clippers. That's been happening to them all year at an unsustainable rate. Broussard, did you know the highest scoring team in the NBA is not the Brooklyn Nets? It's the Clippers. And more instructively, the best three-point shooting team in NBA history, better than any of the Warrior teams, better than the Suns teams of the 2000 aughts, is this year's Clippers team. 7 of their 9 rotation players are shooting career bests from three. And so there's two ways to look at it. One way is this is the best offense in basketball. The defense has come around as of late. And because of that, this is a far more dangerous team than they were last year. The other way to look at it is, do we really think that Reggie Jackson is going to shoot 44% from three in the playoffs? Do you really think Marcus Morris is going to shoot better than Steph Curry ever has in a playoff run in the playoffs? I don't. And so last night, to me, was another example of them, as they've done through the first 50, 45 games of the season or whatever, shooting lights out and looking great because of it. That, to me, is so clearly and obviously not sustainable that it's concerning for me if they don't continue the uptick on defense that we've seen over the last few weeks that has taken them from the low teens to around 11th or 12th in the league on the defensive side.
No, look, it makes sense. I mean, they've been shooting 42% from three, and you figure if you do it all year, that's who you are. But look, three-pointer, you're going to live by it, and sometimes you're going to die by it. But I think the defense, Nick, is important and is legitimately improved. Over this 6-game stretch, they've been like 7th in the league defensively. As you noted, they were mediocre all year, but they shouldn't have been mediocre. Yep. That's the thing. This is a team that should be one of the top defensive teams in the league. So if they can sustain this, as you said, defensively, they will be much more dangerous. But I want to focus on the Bucks, and I don't want to exalt the Clippers or bury the Bucks off of one game. But we saw some familiar problems with the Bucks last night. And you talked about the three-point shooting of the Clippers. Well, that's what the Bucks do. Now, their defensive philosophy is to stop any and everything at the rim as much as possible, which is good, but that ends up letting them give up a lot of threes. They're 27th in the league in opponents' three-point attempts. So teams always shoot a lot of threes against Milwaukee, and they make them. They're 22nd in the league in opponents' three-point percentage. So last night, the Clippers, as you said, they got hot, and they buried Milwaukee. And that has happened. They almost had a season-high three-pointers. A number of teams have come close to having a season high or having season highs in threes against the Clippers. The other side of the ball, they backed up off Giannis, and at times he's hitting his shot, and it looks good. But if Vika Zubac just backed up off of him, gave him the three, gave him the mid-range shot, and Giannis had a subpar game. I know he had 32 points, but only 6 boards and shot 10 of 21, which is low for him. It's his 3rd straight subpar game this year. So those are some concerning things because it can look like the same old problems are going to haunt the Milwaukee Bucks.
Listen, 2 years ago, everybody jumped on the bandwagon when Kawhi went to the Clippers, and then after the bubble, everybody jumped off. I'm the only one that stayed on. Well, there's a couple other people, but I'm one of the only ones on this show and on this network that stayed on this Clippers bandwagon. Look, there's 2 different conversations. Last night, Nick, you're right. They got hot. Luke Kennard, 20 points. I mean, he's averaging, though, 9 points on the season. Marcus Morris, he had 25 last night, but he's averaging 12 on the season. And then you got Reggie Jackson, who went for 21 last night, and he's averaging, 10 points, 9 points on the season. So last night was about them getting hot. But they had a great week of basketball. Last night was their 5th win in a row. This team is really, really good. They're #1 in offense, like you said, and they're trending to be in the top 10 defense. This team can get it done. The biggest question mark around this team was, do they want to play? We're talking about load management, and we're talking about leadership. They're answering the call night in and night out. They're 32-16. This team is about to start a 9-game stretch, home game stretch, and they're going to probably finish this stretch probably #1 in the West. Mid-April, note it, write it down. They're going to finish #1 in the West come mid-April, Wilds.
Okay. So if the Clippers finish #1 in the West, the Lakers are ailing, they go into the playoffs feeling great. Broussard, time to play a new game called Does This Still Have a Heartbeat? Because Kevin O'Connor wrote yesterday that maybe the Heat weren't giving up a bunch of assets to go after Kyle Lowry because they were just waiting. They were like, let's see what happens to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi wanted to go out with Jimmy Butler the first time around. Let's just see if the Clippers blow up. Do you think now that still has a heartbeat, even after they're on this winning streak, even after playoff Rondo, they can beat the Bucks? Do you think Kawhi is 100% committed to staying in LA or San Diego when he's there? Or do you think that there's still some, a heartbeat to him leaving?
You never say never, but I would be shocked. Even if the Clippers go out in the second round or the conference finals, whatever it is, I'd be shocked if Kawhi left. I mean, he's already been on 3 teams, and you don't want to keep hopping around all over the place. We know LeBron went back to Cleveland, but that was home. He had been there before. To hop around to a 4th team, a guy that's as good as Kawhi, and he would leave the Clippers as a failure. Make no mistake about it. When he came here, people were expecting him to lead them to a championship. If he goes to Miami with his tail tucked between his legs, it really looks bad for him and for his legacy. Looks like he couldn't lead a team to a championship because he, wasn't the leader in Toronto, wasn't the leader in San Antonio, and wouldn't be the leader in Miami as it would be Jimmy Butler. Also, as you said, he's from L.A. So I don't think there's much of a heartbeat there. No matter what happens to the Clippers, I think he's in L.A. to stay.
Well, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't bet that he's going to leave. But I think depending on how the Western Conference playoffs shake out, the Clippers are far more likely to lose in round 1 than they are to make the NBA Finals. And if they have another playoff run where they don't even make the conference finals, especially if Paul George struggles, because keep in mind, Paul George, they just signed to that max extension. Kawhi didn't sign one of those this offseason. Paul George did. Then I do think Kawhi Leonard's going to have to ask himself, can I win here? Because the Clippers have no draft assets left. Any salary cap flexibility was wiped away when they gave Marcus Morris and Luke Kennard matching $64 million contracts. They're tied into Paul George. Obviously, the plan has been bring Kawhi back. And Kawhi, by the way, and I don't know if it was Brandon or Broussard that mentioned it, about last year, my criticism of him about not playing regularly, too much load management. He has answered that bell this year. He's not playing every single game, but you're not asked to play every single game. He is not detached from the team. He is not missing more games than any other healthy superstar, and he has played at an excellent level. So I want to be fair. I want to give Kawhi full credit because he's earned it. I just don't love the Clippers roster as a whole, and I think right now they are being
#1 in
artificially inflated. Yeah, because Brandon, this is like the comparison